The other day, Sayadaw started to explain about Jhana. Jayati upanijayati Jhana, meaning Jhana is the observation of the object closely, completely. And the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw had made the motto is that Jhana is observation of the object, concentrating on the object closely. There are two kinds of jhana. The first one is Aramanupanijjhana, and the second is Lakhanupanijjhana. The first one, Aramanupanijjhana, are the Lokiya jhana, mundane jhana, such as the first jhana, the second jhana, and so on, which are Rupa and Arupa jhana, fine material absorption, non-material absorption. In order to attain the first one, Aramanupanijjhana, one contemplates on the object such as disk of soil as meditation object, which is called Patavi Kasina, in order to attain jhana. It is the first kind, Aramanupanijjhana. The second type is Lakhanupanijjhana. Lakhanupanijjhana are the Vipassana jnana and Magga jnana, insight knowledge and path knowledge, as these knowledges observe the unique individual characteristics of the conditioned phenomena. And Magga jnana, the path knowledge, contemplates on the virtue of Nibbana, the peacefulness of Nibbana. So Magga jnana, path knowledge, is also called Lakhanupanijjhana, as it contemplates on the characteristic of Nibbana. In order to simplify these two kinds of jhana, the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw explained it as Samatha jhana and Vipassana jhana. As the yogis are noting the object in order to know the individual characteristics and unique characteristics, they are practicing Vipassana jhana. The first one, Samatha jhana, one practices concentration practice in order to calm, suppress the nirvana hindrances by observing single object of meditation just to keep the mind calm and tranquil is Samatha jhana. By practicing Samatha jhana, one does not discern the Paramattha, the ultimate realities, by direct experiential knowledge, but it is just to keep the mind calm and tranquil. In the practice of Samatha jhana, one contemplates on the object that is concept. One contemplates on the conceptual object in order to attain samatha jhana. Paṇḍitā means concept. In order to make others understand, one designate certain name so that others will know what it is. So these names are also concept. They do not really exist. When one is practicing samatha jhana, one focuses one's mind on the single object. Focusing, contemplating on the single object, the concentration is constant, unchanged, and one gains samatha jhana. The second type, Lakhanupani jhana, which can also be called Vipassana jhana, one contemplates, one discerns the unique individual characteristics as well as common characteristics of the conditioned phenomena, the physical and mental phenomena. So Sayadaw will not explain samatha jhana in detail. Samatha jhana is the jhana contemplating on the single object of meditation in order to keep the mind calm and tranquil, in order to calm the nivranas, hindrances such as kamachanda. So samatha jhana is just to calm and tranquil the mind. The practice of Vipassana jhana is contemplating on the individual characteristics and also the common characteristics of impermanence, suffering, and non-self of the nama-rupa phenomena, and it is called Vipassana jhana. So the difference is observing the single object is samatha jhana, contemplating on the characteristics of impermanent suffering and non-self, the characteristic of nama-rupa is Vipassana jhana. In the text that mentions Satipatthana, it doesn't mention about jhana. But what it mentions is the word anupassana. Anupassana means contemplating repeatedly over and over again. The yogi that possesses anupassana is called anupassi. When contemplating the bodily activities, being mindful of every time the bodily activity arises, it is called kaya-nupassi. Contemplating on the sensations and feelings, the person who contemplates on the sensations and feelings whenever they arise is called vedana-nupassi. Contemplating on the mind, the yogi who contemplates on the mind is called citta-nupassi. Contemplating on mental objects such as seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and so on, the person who contemplates on seeing, hearing, and so on is called Dhamma-nupassi. In order to contemplate, in order to be kaya-nupassi, citta vedana-nupassi, citta-nupassi, and Dhamma-nupassi, one should contemplate on the object that is presently arising, and one should contemplate over and over again repeatedly. As soon as the object arises, one should be mindful right away. In order to do this, one should propel one's mind towards the object. One should exert effort in the practice so that the noting mind reaches the object of meditation. The person who possesses viriya is called atapi, possessor of ardent effort. Pushing, propelling the noting mind towards the object, it is atapa, ardent effort. When one exerts ardent effort in order to push the noting mind towards the object, the noting mind sticks onto the object and there is sustained mindfulness. The person who possesses sati, mindfulness, the person who possesses sustained mindfulness on whatever object that arises is called a yogi. Sampajanya means clear comprehension. When one notes the object with aim and effort, one comes to know the true nature, unique characteristic, and also samanya lakkhana, common characteristics, and one gains sampajanya, clear comprehension, knowing the unique characteristics and common characteristics of nama rupa, mentality and materiality. Seeing the common characteristics, impermanent, suffering and non-self, one also gains Vipassana Jhana, insight, knowledge, which can also be called sampajanya, clear comprehension. So in the text, there mentions atapi, meaning possessor of ardent effort. Sampajanya, meaning having clear comprehension. Satima means the possessor of sati, mindfulness. A person who has these three qualities, atapi, sampajano, and satima, is called anupassi, and one is practicing anupassana. So the three words, atapi, sampajano, and satima, defines anupassi or anupassana, and Buddha taught these three in Nidesa Pali. The commentator explains that by mentioning sati, samadhi is also automatically mentioned, and it is sensible. When one's noting mind sticks onto the object of meditation, the mind does not run elsewhere, but the mind falls calm and collected on the object. The mind is not agitated by raga. The mind is not agitated by dosa. The mind is not agitated by other hindrances such as kamacchanda or vyavada, but the mind is calm and collected. The mind falls calm and collected on the object. When the mind falls calm and collected on the object, it is khanika samadhi, momentary concentration. When there is momentary concentration, the mind falling calm and collected on the object, one comes to discern the true nature. That's why it is said that by mentioning sati, the samadhi that is associating with sati also is involved. So this is explained by the commentator. In Maganga Nidesa, Buddha mentioned ekagata, one-pointedness, which is also called samadhi. So practicing Satipatthana meditation is to develop knowledge. By practicing Satipatthana meditation, one discerns mind and matter, and one develops knowledge stage by stage. So, at the beginning of the practice, one needs to apply the jhanic factors. Yogis are encouraged to apply the jhanic factors, saying yogis should constantly concentrate on the object, focus one's mind on the object. Concentrating, focusing is jhanic factor. So one should aim one's noting mind towards the object so that the mind will be direct or face to face with the object of meditation. So with whatever one practices, whether one is practicing samatha jhana or whether one is practicing vipassana jhana, one should develop ekagata, one-pointedness, which is samadhi. Samadhi, concentration, plays important role in the practice. When the mind is calm and collected, the mind is not agitated with raga or dosa. One should develop samadhi, one should develop concentration as the overwhelming factor. So when one develops samadhi, concentration, jhana also develops. And one also develops vipassana. It is said that samahito bhikkhave yatha bhuta vajanati. When the noting mind was calm and collected on the object, when the person has a concentrated mind on the object of meditation, one comes to discern the true nature of the object, and one discerns the way the object is. So one also gains clear comprehension. In order to develop knowledge, samadhi, concentration, is the proximate cause. Concentration is the proximate cause of knowledge. So it is very important that one develops ekagata, one-pointedness of the mind, which is samadhi. So one should concentrate on whatever object that is arising at the present moment. When there is heat, one should know it as heat. In this way, by being mindful of the presently arising object, one comes to discern the true nature of the object. In order to discern, one should note the presently arising object thoroughly, meticulously. By noting the object thoroughly, meticulously, one's concentration will become strong. When one's concentration becomes strong by practicing Satipatthana meditation, one also understands the Vipassana Jhana. The factors that are the cause to develop ekagata, concentration. In order to develop concentration, vitaka, initial application, vichara, sustained application, piti, joy, sukha, happiness, are the factors that are the cause for concentration to arise. So, in order to develop ekaggata, concentration, one should not be deficient of vitakka, one should not be deficient of vichara, but one should be endowed with vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha in order to develop ekaggata, concentration. Vitakka in Burmese is translated as thought or thinking, but it is initial application. The characteristic of vitakka is aramana vinirupana lakhano, meaning the applying the noting mind onto the object so that the noting mind will be direct or face to face with the object. So in order to know the object, one should aim and direct one's noting mind onto the object, and vitakka is the jhanic factor. So one should aim and direct one's noting mind towards the object so that the noting mind will be direct or face to face with the object, and one should exert effort so that the noting mind reaches the object of meditation. When vitakka is present, the mind will be open, blossom, active, and fresh. A person who has a lot of vitakka will find problem in sleeping, as vitakka keeps the mind fresh. Tinamita, sloth and torpor make the mind constricted and contracted. So these two are directly opposite of each other, as vitakka keeps the mind blossom and open, and tinamita, sloth and torpor, keep the mind contracted and constricted. Having vitakka, one does not give any chance for tinamita to arise. Having vitakka, the mind will not flinch away, the mind will not withdraw from practice, and tinamita has no chance to arise. So one should aim and focus and direct one's noting mind towards the object so that the noting mind will be direct face to face with the object, and the mind will be fresh, blossom, and alert. So this vitakka is the direct opposite force of tinamita. And having vitakka, one will be free from nivarana hindrances. Vitakka applies the noting mind onto the object so that the mind is direct or face to face with the object. Vitakka has the ability to apply the noting mind onto the object so that the noting mind is face to face with the object. Vichara keeps the noting mind sustained on the object so that the noting mind rubs onto the object. When the noting mind rubs onto the object with vichara, one becomes certain of the object. Noting the object with aim and effort, the mind is sustained on the object, the noting mind is rubbed onto the object. Vichara keeps the noting mind connected, binded on the object. So one comes to know the true nature of the object. When the noting mind rubs onto rising of the abdomen, one comes to see the nature such as stiffness, tension, movement. When the noting mind falls on falling of the abdomen, when the noting mind rubs onto the falling of the abdomen, one comes to know relaxation, movement, and so on. Vichara is said to be Panya Gatika, meaning Vichara is similar to knowledge. When the noting mind rubs onto objects, such as rising of the abdomen, one comes to see the nature of stiffness and tension. When the noting mind rubs onto the falling of the abdomen, one comes to know relaxation, movement, and so on. In this way, one becomes certain of the object, discerning stiffness, tension, movement. When one is certain of the object, uncertainty, doubt, vicikiccha will be removed. So in this way, vichara, sustained application, is directly opposite of vicikiccha, skeptical doubt. When one knows the object with aim and effort, the mind will be sustained on the object. The noting mind rubs onto the object. Vichara arises. Vichara keeps the mind connected, binded with the object of meditation, and thus one is free from vicikiccha, the skeptical doubt. When the noting is effective, when the noting mind is concurrent with the object and the noting effective, one feels satisfied, one feels joy, and there will be comfort, happiness, calmness of the mind. So Sayadaw gives the example, when playing marble, when the marble hits the target, one feels joy and happiness. When the player is not skillful in throwing marble, the marble will not hit the target, but the player has to keep on practicing throwing marble with aim and effort. As the player gains skill in throwing marble, the marble hits the target and the player feels joy, happiness, satisfaction, comfort, and also the mind becomes calm and collected. When the yogi leaves the worldly field in order to come to the Dhamma field, when the yogi practices, one should be noting the object with aim and effort. When noting the object with aim and effort, when the noting mind hits the target, the object of meditation, one feels satisfied, one feels joy and happiness. When the noting mind hits the target, the object of meditation, a little, one feels little joy, satisfaction and happiness. And if the noting mind hits the target again and again, one feels more joy and happiness. Joy is piti. When one feels joy, there will be comfort, happiness, and also there will be ekagata, one-pointedness of the mind. In order to know the object, one should know the object with aim and effort. When the noting mind is connected with the object, binded onto the object, one will be certain of the object, and thus vicikiccha, doubt, will be removed. So in order to freshen one's mind, one should know the object with aim and effort. Having vitakka, there will not be tinamita, sloth and torpor will not arise. Having piti, one will feel joy. So having vichara, sustained application, one will be free from doubt. Having piti, joy, vyabhada, ill will, the rottenness of the mind will not arise, but the mind will be pure and clean. And also sukha, happiness, arises. There will not be distraction, the mind will not be distracted, or there will not be any remorse. So when the mind is directed onto the object, the mind will not go onto sensual objects, and thus there will not be kama chanda, sensual desire. When these mental factors are present, by noting the object, nivrana, hindrances, cannot arise. Having jhana, the nivrana, hindrances are burnt. So jhana is also called jhabana, as it can also burn the nivrana, hindrances. By contemplating on the object closely, completely, there will be jhana, there will be jhanic factors. Having these jhanic factors, one can burn up the nivrana, hindrances, not giving chance for these hindrances to arise. In order to gain jhana, one needs to contemplate on the object. One needs to aim and direct one's noting mind on the object, concentrate on it, focus on it. Having jhana, the opposite states have no chance to arise. Jhana can burn up the nivrana, hindrances. By observing the object closely, when one's jhana arises, the hindrances will be burnt. Removing the hindrances, the wholesome states will arise, and Sayadaw will continue to explain tomorrow. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.